I want to say miigwech to the Treaty 5 leadership that are here and all the knowledge keepers and the prayers that happened this morning. I want to say miigwech. I'm here this morning to support you in the release of your action plan. My remarks to the provincial government today are offered in a good way. In kindness, as I was always taught, it is our way to show love. But I also want people to know that our kindness as First Nations and generosity should never be mistaken for our weakness. One of the aims of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission was to promote awareness and public education of all Canadians about the Indian residential school system and its impacts. Governments at all levels and individual Canadians were expected to pick up where the TRC left off. With kindness, I say the provincial government has failed to educate itself. What we saw over the past few days was not the promotion. Check. You want me to talk anyways?
Yeah. You got a microphone.
You want me to wait? Yeah. Hello? All right. Thank you. All right. Testing. I'm going to try to get at the bottom. Oh, that's fine then. We're good? No. All right. What we saw over the past few days was not the promotion of education and awareness. It was the opposite. And none of us, First Nation or non-First Nation, can afford to go backwards. So let us be clear. Colonialism and genocidal acts happened here in Canada. It happened in a very purposeful way through policies, laws, and actions that very much include the residential school system. There is no way to sugarcoat the intent and effect of the residential schools. It was purposely designed and carried out to impose forcible, punitive assimilation on every First Nation child they could lay hands on. The Indian residential school system was all about denigrating First Nations cultures, First Nations languages, values, and First Nations everything. That's why there are thousands of children who disappeared without a trace, without ceremony. They were devalued in death as they were in life. That is why we all have a duty to address. So what we need right now is a shift. We need to shift our focus on what is important. And what is important right now is public education and finding and honoring our little ones. Let us focus on what needs to be done to correct the unacceptable denigration of thousands of children who were taken, who suffered, and who were punished precisely for being who they are. The government's responsibility, federal and provincial, is to follow our lead by supporting public education on Indian residential schools and measures required to locate and respectfully lay to rest the little ones. On public education, let's be clear, there is no such thing as benign colonialism or well-intentioned colonialism. Colonialism is a serious violation of human rights under international law. Its connection to racism has been known and documented. First Nations and the rest of Canada need to work through this calmly and in an honest way. Leadership in provincial and federal governments cannot do that by denying the truth. Our little ones who are taking are delivering a long overdue day of reckoning. And we all must listen to with respect, and then we must honor their memory with love, kindness, and action. And another thing I just wanted to talk about is a few years back, when the Premier was first elected, he came to our chiefs from the south. We had a meeting in the Broken Head First Nation, and he came to talk to us, and he agreed that he would work with us at that time. You know, I welcome him to talk to our leadership again, to talk to our chiefs. We're not here to not get along with him. We're here to help him through this, to help educate him. All of us are born to be kind to people. That's not weakness. kindness and love of where we're coming from. Chimigwech, thank you.
Oka.
We'll, a little bit closer. Apologies to
I truly believe that the Premier and the Indigenous Minister needs to apologize. Apologize to our
Mention an action
ancestors.
plan. Doing what Palliser hasn't. This action plan sets out a series of measures to step up action to combat hatred and racism, to help lift the voices of First Nations to expose hatred and racism, and to bring together decisive action at every instance. Those actions are not to be construed or interpreted as counseling any party or person to commit an offense. The rationale is that hate crime, racism, systemic racism, and discrimination are serious crimes. We know as a fact sections 318 to 320.1 of the Criminal Code have no jurisprudence, no law. Therefore, it will take the grassroots movement to take concrete actions on hate, crime, and racism. The action plan is set out as follows. 1. To set up alliances between First Nations and affiliate organizations to respond to hate crime and racism in an expeditious manner. 2. To set up a special task force made up of academics, elders, and youth to strategically monitor, plan, and execute the plan of action on hate crime and racism. 3. To establish a secretariat that will advocate the prevention of hate crime and racism. 4. To adapt, modify, and implement the action plan as time progresses. 5. To ensure hate crime and racism against First Nations is a standing discussion item at each annual gathering of Treaty 5 Nations commencing August 10th, 2021, and to implement the action plan inclusively as directed by the people. 6. To closely monitor the type of action plan to be employed and to promote nonviolence and avoid destruction of property. 7. To develop a report on hate crimes and racism and to provide that report to the United Nations. 8. To organize rallies and other forms of measures as an integral part of the action plan and as freedom of expression as guaranteed in Section 2B of Canada's Charter of Rights. 9. To conduct an awareness campaign on the prevalence and the effects of hate crime and racism to Treaty 5 Nations. This will also include an awareness of the Treaty 5 Action Plan on hate crime and racism. 10. To lobby Canada to criminalize hate crime and racism. Sections 318 to 320.1 of the Criminal Code does little to deter hate crime and racism. There is no prosecution or case law. 11. To condemn and publicly denounce blatant manifestations of hate crime, hate propaganda, racism, and discrimination through any fora available to First Nations, including social media. And 12, to incrementally augment the days of action on hate crime, racism, and discrimination. I'll turn the floor to Chief Easter and the Board of Members for the Treaty 5 Sovereign Nations.
Morning. Naras ko mga skagi sila. Pepe ni po yan. Yan mo tayo mga Espanyol. Kawagit timay gaw yan. Mutan taskina. Ano skagi sila mayo. Tamatsi mo na yan. Tamanok matis yan. Tautis yan ay nangyayon. Mutan sa taskina. The progressive conservative government uses language to distort obvious truth about colonialism and avoid accountability on the rights of First Nations. At a time when our people are recovering children's bodies and our survivors are finally getting started to be acknowledged by the general public, the comments of the PC government has caused a setback in the use of such irresponsible and volatile words. We are stepping up to the plate to deal with this racism that's directed on our people, and let the heal begin.
Oka.
We want to heal, and we want to live in our own land, the way we were meant to. Thank you.
Oka.
We'll now hear from Chief Sheldon Kent, Black River First Nation.